Hello everyone, and welcome to another beer review. Now, today we're on a style of beer that I really enjoy. It's one of my favourites. Bitters is one, although I would say modern day bitters are delivering less and less of the flavour profiles that I like. So while I turn around and say bitter is one of my favourite style of beers, it's becoming less so, and that's because the brewers are making less bitters. They're making plenty of beers and calling them bitters, but they're not actually really making bitters. And I would probably say there's maybe a handful, getting on to 2 handfuls max, of traditional bitters that I actually enjoy as bitters. I mean, I might enjoy them as beers that aren't quite there and everything else, but if I look at them as good, honest, traditional bitters, they're just not enough a lot of the times, and they seem to be slightly half-arsed or slightly weak at the back end, and it's just a lot of them. That's what I find. Although I still get my hopes up with bitters, I'm finding more disappointments, and that annoys me. But another style of beer that's one of my favourites is a mild, and thankfully milds haven't gone the same way as bitters. Most breweries have left that do make, you more likely is the case is instead of breweries pissing about with the milds, a lot of times they'll just stop making them. So you've got the other side of the coin, whereas there's less milds about than there used to be, but at least the ones that are about are to the kind of traditional milds that I enjoy. So my options are becoming less and less all the time, but for what the ones are there and available, they're still traditional milds, which is a good thing. So today we're doing Holden's Black Country Mild. Now I might actually mix this with the bitter. I do have the bitter as well, and I might do a wee mix which is normal. But yes, we've got the Black Country Mild. It's 3.7%. It's Black Country born and bred, which I don't know why I'm saying it in that accent. It should be Orchid Black Country born and bred. So there you go. Because I had I don't know if I told you, but I did work with a guy from Dudley, which is where this is from, and it was his name was Tony, and yes, he was a very awkward son, to rabbit and all that type of stuff, which was lovely. And it's a Black Country Mild, and it's a bold chestnut red mild with a nutty biscuit notes, which is with a delicious hint of chocolate, actually, which is lovely. I actually quite liked the way he talked, because I would try and get him to say certain words. Vegetables was always a good one. Somebody from Dudley trying to say the word vegetables, it's quite enjoying. But anyway, yes, it's a bold chestnut red mild with nutty biscuit notes and a delicious hint of chocolate, brewed using a combination of amber malt, caramel malt, black malt, and the choicest English fuggles, which I do notice that the beers that I've reviewed previously and this one, they all are the main hops is fuggles, which is fine, not a problem, and they seem to get it right, because the problem is if you overdo the fuggles, you can get the slightly coriander effect where you get a slightly kind of soapy dishwater kind of taste and feel to it, which they don't get. So they manage that actually quite well, because that's always the danger sometimes, is just being too much of the fuggles. And it's an easy drinking traditional Black Country Mild, which again, the Black Country Milds are actually quite famous for They are a good traditional mild. And yeah, I've had a few in the past, and yeah, the only problem is enjoy with hearty stews, which you can understand, game meats and everything else, or citrus desserts. It's a bit of a left field item, isn't it? I'm trying to even think of what's citrus desserts? Are you talking about fucking crepe Suzette or something like that? I mean, what type of... I'm trying to think. I don't know. Maybe lemon drizzle cake, is that classed as a dessert? I mean, what many desserts would you say that are kind of citrus kind of based? That's a kind of a strange one to me. And of course it has to be citrus. Now I'm thinking, no, fucking... If you see, for me, if you see citrus on labels, you're thinking, oh, fuck New Old hops, here we fucking go, Christ, no. You know, so I'm hoping that that isn't the case and things like that, but just very strange, a bit of a left field item. Or citrus desserts, you think, But yes. And yes, the ingredients are still the same as because we did the bitter previously. So we've got water, malted barley, sugar, which I'm not a big fan of. I'm not a big fan of inverted sugars in beers, but hey, it's the way life is. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Wheat and hops, 3.7%, 500ml. And if you don't know previously, they charged me quite a lot. The beers, buying them on the website appeared, you've got to buy them in 12 packs, which is unfortunate. So people know out there that there will be some tasters coming your way at some point. But with these ones, as the case is always, the beers in 12 packs actually worked out not too bad. I think they were roughly about 22 quid for a 12 pack, which was roughly about, kind of around about the £1, between £1.80, £1.90. But they charged me £17 delivery, and that kind of wrapped them up to be closer to kind of the £2.30 mark. So I'll put both prices down below. And while they used a good courier and the delivery was very quick and everything else and very efficient, I also feel that you're still charging a bit too much. You know, you're kind of ripping the piss a little bit. And I can understand you make the profit in selling the beer, but you're putting a markup. You must be putting a markup, because I know with the courier system, and I use DPD and everything else. And you charging that, and even with, it's a standard box, there's not like a fancy box. What they do have is a branded kind of paper tape that they use on the box. So I'm looking at the box right now, or the boxes, and no, what you're charging is the case is you're making a profit. You're putting a markup on the delivery, which I'm sorry, but you're hitting the punter twice, and I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? It's like turning around, going to a pub and you buy the pint and the bastard charges you a rent for the glass. You know what I mean? Fuck off, seriously. You know, get a grip. It's not fair. Stop it. You know, if you want people to buy into your beer and everything else and your flavour profiles and all that, don't screw them twice, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? It just annoys me, and it just leaves a little bit of a sour taste on, you know, imagine you're doing a nice beer, but then it's a case of it's a nice beer and everything else, but yeah, they're fucking screwing me on the delivery, and it's annoying. You know, there's no need for it. It's just greed. But anyway, let's open it. Oof. Right, hopefully this will be a nice beer. Because if it isn't, it's going to be a hell of a disappointing Sunday, and that's why I've got the whiskey behind me. I can always pull. I've got a whiskey glass there, always there. I don't bring the whiskey down, but if it's going to be a really bad Sunday beer, then I'll turn it into a kind of Sunday Wednesday beer, and I'll pull a bottle down and start drinking that. Well, there you go. It says a kind of reddish tone. You can see that. I'm just kind of tilting it, and the light's picking up. So it's not a traditional really dark mild, but it is a slightly reddish mild. Again, I would probably say about a half finger head. But again, it's still lacing on the glass, slightly off-white. I'm just getting nice malt tones. I'm getting dark caramel and toffee are the two tones. Maybe a slightly roasted toffee as well. Yeah, and slightly kind of the syrupiness that goes with it. So yes, coming across as definitely malt forward, which is what they should be. Right, let's see what it tastes like. Oh yeah. Oh. See, this is the thing that stands out to me, like I was saying previously before I opened the beer, is that I find bitters becoming more and more disappointing because there's so many breweries firing out beers, calling them bitters, and they're just a drab, bland amber ale, you know. Whereas while the choices of milds are getting less and less, for some strange reason is they don't fuck about with the milds. If breweries are still making milds, there's less chance of them pissing about with it. So while your options are becoming less and less, especially in bottles, I mean, let's be totally honest, you can go to most supermarkets right now, Sainsbury's, Asda, Tesco's, you can take Aldi, Lidl and everything else. You try and find a mild on the shelf. Go on, see if you can do it. You'd fucking struggle. You really would. Now, there may be in some areas of the country, like round about the Birmingham area and taking the Yorkshire, you'll find maybe milds and things like that. But trust me, south of Birmingham, you ain't going to find them. North of Leeds stroke Manchester, you ain't going to find them. You know, you just won't find the milds because they don't exist a lot of times. They're a kind of a forgotten beer to a lot of supermarkets and things like that, and also to brewers as well. They're a forgotten kind of ale, you know, a traditional ale type, and it's sad because it's one of the best. It's one of the most underrated. They'll go on about fucking porters and they'll go on about fucking stouts and everything else, but mild just seems to bridge that gap. I mean, even a good brown ale and that type of stuff. Brown ale's going the same way as mild. You don't really get brown ales so much now either, and they're both kind of similar in their position in the kind of traditional kind of ale segment. While they're very different, brown ales and kind of mild, they kind of bridge the gap between the bitters and the porters and the stouts. They're kind of a halfway point. But the thing is, they're very much on the easy drinking side of it as well. And I've always liked them. I like both. I would probably say brown ales. I like brown ales, and I like traditional brown ales, but there's less of them about. And I like milds as well. And I'd probably say between the two of them, I would probably say milds are my more preferred. I would say my two top beer types are bitters and milds, but I would say milds are starting to come more to the fore because at least I can get proper traditional milds. I'm struggling a lot of times. A lot of times I look forward to bottles because it says bitter on them, and they turn out to be a disappointment because they just aren't. Just because you put it in the label, it's not what's in the bottle. And at least with milds you're getting that, but the problem is unless you're buying them online and things like that, or you're living in certain areas of the country, it's not so easy to get mild. And of course, if you're down south or you're up north, you will never see a mild in a pub ever, and you'll never see a mild in a bloody supermarket either. So where do you get them? That's your two main sources. So you're not going to find them in pubs, you're not going to find them in supermarkets. Off licenses don't really exist very much now and everything else. So where do you get them? So you have to get them online, so you have to go to specific breweries. And there's your problem. And you're going to see if they're going to put Guinness and all these other type of shitty Irish stouts. Oh, they're wonderful, and they're so fucking wonderful that they actually have to turn it into a bloody circus act by basically making a nitro pour because there's fuck all flavour on them, you know what I mean? And you think, Jesus, you're better off with a damn good mild. I mean, a good mild has got more flavour than a shitty bloody Guinness any day. And you can keep all your creaminess and split the G and all this. I mean, it's fucking playground antics. Let's be totally honest. It's playground antics. And here was the old trick. It was never splitting the G. It was always splitting the harp. That was always the traditional Irish way. So when you're splitting the G, you think, oh, there we go. Oh, I'm part of the old country. You're not. You're fucking talking shite. Twats. I fucking hate them. Anyway. Quite a nice beer, actually. I like it. It's got some nice flavour tones. I'm just getting acclimatised and then I'll break into the actual flavour profiles. But yeah. And there's a nice little bitterness to it, because sometimes you get mild with a little bit of a sweeter finish and you get mild with a little bit of a darker, kind of slightly bitter finish. And this is what it's giving you. It's giving you a slightly darker, bitter finish, and it's quite nice. And it has got the nuttiness, which again, you can also get in brown ales and everything else. So you can see some of that flavour profile kind of crisscrossing over. But they are two very different beers. And yeah, again, two beers that are just aren't respected enough. And you look at the shit some people are drinking, and that's the thing that probably annoys me the most. Everybody creaming their pants over fucking shitty Guinness, and it's the Guinness that's sold now, it's even worse than it was before, and it was shit before, and it's just, oh, seriously, it's a non-event nowadays. Seriously, it really fucking is. And you're looking at this type of beer here and you're thinking, this leaves it for dead for fucking flavour. Absolutely leaves it for dead. And it's shocking. It really is. But with all this progressiveness and all this technology and everything else, the majority of people around the world are actually drinking shittier beer than they've ever fucking done before. And they all want to pat themselves on the back and think they're fucking great. And you're thinking, you're daft. You seriously? You're bordering on the equivalent of licking the dog's shite. You really are. You know what I mean? And you don't even know it. Yeah, the problem is you've never tasted it to know what you're missing. Which makes you more fucking stupid than I could even imagine. You know, and I've met a few bit of stupid over the years. You know, I'm saying I'm in my 50s. I've come across stupid in all different ways and things like that. And you think, no, you look at these arseholes drinking this piss and you think, and then you've got these beers going by the wayside and breweries saying, oh, well, nobody's buying them, so we're going to stop making them and everything else. And you think, God, the shit keeps going, but the good stuff gets pushed by the wayside. It's wrong. It's got a nice mouthfeel. And the good thing about a mild is the clue's in the name. It's a darker beer, but without the heavier flavours. It's got little accents of some of the flavours you might get in a porter or a stout, but little light accents. The main thing is it's bridging that gap, so it's also got little accents coming from the bitter side and everything else, and it's just a kind of transition beer. But if you put a bitter up against a good traditional stout, it'd be night and day. Hence why you need the mild in between or the brown ale in between to kind of transition between that. And it does it. Both of them do it perfectly well. So they really do. Because they have some of the flavours of one style and a little bit of the accent flavours of the other. And they just kind of marries them really together. So it's like, if you look at it, if you like stouts like I do, and if you like bitters like I do, and it's like almost the best of both worlds. Not 100% because it doesn't have the slightly darkness of porters or stouts and that type of stuff, and a lot of them don't have the bitterness. But in saying that, more modern day bitters don't really have bitterness anyway, so you're not losing out on that. But they're nice, and they're usually lower alcohol and so easy drinking. And I'll be totally honest, I'd love a good night in the mild, I really would. And I can't remember the last time I had a good night in the mild. But what I would say it's probably between 20 and 25 years ago. That's how sad it is. Now, some of that might be down to me because I did live outside the country for a certain period and everything else. But if I stayed in Scotland for that period, then I wouldn't be getting any miles at all. And if I lived in certain areas of the UK, I wouldn't have got miles either. So whether I was outside the UK or inside the UK, depending where I was in the UK, I still wouldn't have got, it wouldn't be so easy to have a night in the miles, which is criminal. To me, it's criminal. Let's break down these flavours. Start off at the front of the mouth. You get a couple of levels of malt. You get a bit of dark caramel, a bit of toffee, and maybe just a teeny little hint of molasses. There's a teeny little hint of molasses, but again, the two predominant ones is toffee and dark caramel. But you get a nice level of sweetness there that goes well with the malt. The two of them seem to feel quite connected. And a little bit of grains, but the grains get a little bit of darkness to them. So it feels like there's a little bit of roasted there to the grains, which is nice. Just a nice kind of level there. So again, they're not the lighter grains, the slightly darker grains that you'd maybe associate with a porter or a stout. Moves on to the mid-tongue. And this is where you get a little bit of the brown ale, because the brown ales are usually get the nuttiness to it, and you are getting a little bit of nutties, but you're only getting it at the front end of the mid-tongue, the first half of it. As it starts moving to past the midpoint, it kind of changes, but you're getting that little bit of nutties, you've still got that little bit of sweetness. You've got the nice levels of malt, the little bit of darkness of the grain, which again just helps to kind of hold that back any kind of sweetness too much. But as it starts to move past the mid-tongue, it's when some of the darker flavours start to come across. And you are starting to get in slight bitterness accents coming through. And I'm not saying a lot of bitterness, but an okay level of bitterness starting to kind of appear as it moves towards the kind of back of the mouth, and you get a nice bit of bitterness there. But it all works out well. It's all kind of balanced out. You know, you get little twangs of the nuttiness that's still there. You get the nice malt. You're getting that sweetness, and it's all just kind of all working together, and nothing trying to kind of push out from the pack too much. They're all kind of nicely grouped. And yeah, so it moves over into the kind of back of the mouth and the mid-tongue. It's just nice. Just a nice kind of grouping is probably the best way of putting it. Imagine it in the darts. They're all just nicely grouped together, and they're all kind of just, you know, each one playing their part. And it just shows you that there's a nice level of complexity there, you know, and the flavour profiles to a nice intensity and to a decent clarity as well. But as it kind of dissipates, they all kind of slightly dissipate at different levels. And the kind of two last ones is a little bit of kind of, that little hint of molasses, a little bit of bitterness, a little bit of nuttiness. They're the kind of things that are kind of finally kind of dissipate. The rest of them kind of dissipate a little bit earlier. And overall, it's a nicely balanced, very drinkable beer. And that's the thing that stands out. Good traditional, nice tasting, balanced beer. And very enjoyable, very drinkable. And for me, even though it's a slightly lighter, kind of reddish kind of version of the mild, flavours are very much on point. And yeah, they're very nice. So what would I give this out of 10? Well, it's not a difficult one. The biggest problem is probably the price. Not so much of the beer, but of the delivery. That's the only thing that kind of really hinders it so much. But overall, it's actually a very, very nice beer. And it's nice to enjoy a nice bottle of mild. And overall, I'd be quite happy drinking this in a pub. It'd be even nicer if it was in a cask and everything else. But unfortunately, they would rather go for IPAs or pale ales and God knows what before they go for this. And it just shows you a complete lack of appreciation and knowledge of beer. And I would say pubs even play their part to a certain degree that, you know, I mean, sometimes it's not just relying on what the patrons go for. Sometimes you maybe have to kind of steer the patrons more towards certain beer styles just to kind of help to educate them. Pubs do have a kind of responsibility of not just chucking out the piss water that the punters ask for, but also to help to kind of educate them and kind of push them towards kind of, you know, beers that they maybe don't understand or even know exist. So there is that kind of responsibility, and I think even that's gone with a lot of pubs now as well. And it's again another disappointment, another, you know, moment of sadness. But out of 10, what would I give this? Actually, yes, I've done the bitter in a previous review, and it was okay. It was nice. It was quite a nice one. I think that got 6.5. This has got more to it, which I would expect it to have more to it, and it's got a bit more flavour to it and everything else. But it's nice, easy drinking and everything else. So on that basis, I'm going to give this a 7.5, even with the kind of exorbitant kind of delivery costs. But yeah, I'm going to give it a 7.5. It's a nice mild, and you just don't get mild so much now. And I'll be totally honest, if I'm online and they've got a mild, I know at some point I will buy it. The bitter sometimes, I'm kind of becoming less so. But if they've got a mild in their repertoire and their brand, then more often than not, I will go for that first in the shopping cart, and then I'll read the description and the bitter and everything else, and sometimes I might even go and do a better review, because again, but even then with the reviews, you read some of the reviews and they say, oh yeah, it's really bitter and everything else. I think, oh, you buy it, you think, you talk shite, you know, bitter as my arse, you know, it's a fucking amber ale, you prick, you know, I mean, you think, so again, you can't trust anybody, they're all a bunch of lying bastards. But yeah, so this is a 7.5 out of 10. It's 3.7%. It's 500 ml. I'll put all the prices down below, but yeah, I would definitely recommend it. Give it a go if you're into these style of kind of traditional ales and flavour profiles. So, thanks for watching. Cheers. And bye for now.